I can settle down and be doing just fine till I hear an old freight rolling down the line.
Thank you, Mary. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Welcome. I know you must be a very busy person.
It gets a bit crazy, yes.
Yeah. And for our listeners out there, yes, you are hearing a female voice on Rambling Podcast for the first time, so don't fall off your chair.
We're slow, but we're thorough. We got there.
Yeah. So we are a podcast that does sort of delve into blokes issues. Well, not issues. We don't like to say more. What makes blokes tick, but also what challenge they've got in the modern world.
Yep.
And we love to delve into the stories of blokes doing good things in our community.
Yeah.
But I heard you on another podcast, some sort of blokes advice or good blokes or some sort of
Better Blokes.
Podcast. Better Blokes.
Yeah.
That would have been it.
Okay.
And I thought we got to get Mary on board because obviously you're very passionate about blokes' mental health.
Yes.
And particularly regional blokes and farmers.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And we do like to explore that. We're both from the country, so...
Awesome.
So I'm from Bendigo. I didn't grow up on a farm like Brian did, but I did grow up in the bush, so to speak. And Brian's grew
Farm
up on
boy
a
out
farm.
of Western Victoria. Yeah.
From Western Victoria.
Hamilton, Warrnambool area.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
So we do like to explore issues that are facing regional blokes in particular and regional communities as well. So
Yep, plenty of those out there.
Yeah. So you're obviously from the bush?
Yes,
Yep.
I'm born and raised on a sheep and cattle station in South West Queensland.
Yep.
And... have spent my whole life working in agriculture in some form. Even when I was with a government department, it was still in Department of Primary Industries. So,
So, Mary, if I was to say ULO, am I anywhere near it?
You are.
Ah!
You are. A little bit west.
Eulo?
A little bit west.
West of Eulo?
No, Eulo's a bit west.
A bit west of where you are.
Yeah, so
Okay.
between Bollen, Bollen's the actual town.
Bollen, yeah.
So that's where I'm from.
Bollen, which is on the river. There's quite a river at Bollen. Is it Bollen on the river?
It's not. Little creek there, Wallam Creek.
Okay.
Bollen on the Wallam, they call it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So Bollen's a small town between Cunnamulla and St George. So
yeah, okay. Eulo, of course, is on the Paroo, which is a beautiful watercourse.
Yep.
Yeah, lovely. One of the last uncontrolled waterways of the Murray-Darling system, the Paroo.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not held up, it just flows.
I think it's the furthest west that actually flows into the Murray-Darling.
Correct.
The next one west is the Bullu, which actually doesn't go into anywhere.
Right.
And then west of that, all goes to Lake Eyre.
Lake Eyre, correct.
Yep.
Yeah. Excellent. I know that country a bit. I've been out there fossicking and a bit of fishing with my parents back in the day. They loved that country.
Yep.
Out amongst the red-winged parrots and beautiful.
Plenty of fish out there.
And good fishing on the Paroo. Lovely. Yeah. Okay, I've got a feel for your country already. That's good.
So you grew up out that way, or
grew up out there and went to boarding school in Brisbane.
Oh yeah,
and then went back out there and then moved to Toowoomba.
Yeah.
But always been in agriculture in some shape or form, whether it was actually on a motorbike chasing sheep and cattle or working with farmers through the Department of Primary Industries.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's how you. So I'm going to try and step back to where you got involved in men's mental health. There was an article on your website, the You Bogged Mate website, so we should probably clarify the charity's called, is it charity?
Yeah.
Charity's called You Bogged Mate.
Yes.
And there's an article on there that you wrote that, according to the website, started all of this.
It did.
So, and there was an event that you went to that kind of made you start to think about this?
Yeah, so my work with farmers, I've been running my own business and travelling around the broadacre farming areas of Australia, doing workshops in spray application technology and drift management. So those big spray rigs, how they can do the best job with that and get the pesticides where they need it, instead of it drifting off and annoying somebody else or destroying somebody else. So that work has taken me right around Australia, and I'm based at Dalby on the Darling Downs in southern Queensland now, which is a massive farming area, a lot of agriculture there. And we lost 2 guys to suicide within 3 weeks over Christmas, which rattled our whole region. These things do.
Christmas which year?
2017.
This is the commencement of your interest in this area.
And it was, I guess, just the following on from that and watching the community struggled with it. And it wasn't that these guys were close mates of mine, but I knew them. They were quite well known in the region. And, you know, there's no good time of year for suicide. There's no good time of year to lose someone, but over Christmas is really quite difficult for families and kids in particular. And it really just hit me. I've lost people much closer to me over the years to suicide, and I'm not even really sure why these two guys it just knocked me for six and knocked everybody else in the region. So I was watching the men in the community come to terms with it or not come to terms with it, and I just thought, what's going on? Why these two guys? Like, what's going on? And I never really knew anything about mental health or looked into it too much. And I started to do some research because all my qualifications are in science and agriculture. So I started to actually do some proper research and read all this information that was written by people with qualifications in mental health. And I just thought everything that they were saying, I thought was bullshit. Am I allowed to say bullshit?
You can say
you can say whatever you want.
I thought it was all just bullshit.
Yeah.
And from where I was sitting and reading this stuff, all that they were saying was that there's something wrong with men. We need to change men. They don't do this and they don't do that.
Okay.
And I thought, that's bullshit. There's nothing wrong with men. They don't know how to communicate with them, and they certainly don't understand these men. So really, I just wrote that article in frustration that the experts didn't understand these blokes, and they wanted to change them to make them behave in a way that they thought was appropriate.
Right.
And I just thought that was wrong. And so I literally just wrote that article as a frustration. It was just an opinion piece. I just wrote it and never set out to start anything or create anything. But the response to the article was so huge from around the world, because in the spray world, I'm probably not so well known now, but I was very well known worldwide in the spray application world.
Okay.
And so I'd been to Canada and the US to talk about spray application over there for major chemical companies and farmers over there. And I had a lot of American farmers that followed me on Twitter and Canadian farmers and stuff. And so when I wrote the article and I put it on my little business website and I put the link out on Twitter, and it just went crazy. There was over 100,000 people saw that tweet, and I got emails and messages from all over the world, from dairy farmers in Ireland and cotton farmers in South America and, cattle producers in South Africa and Australians. And I was like, whoa, created a bit of a stir here. And then it was sort of on the back of that people were sort of asking me to come and talk about it. And it was he was then president of the Queensland Farmers Federation, said, this is what you do now. I said, no, I do spray stuff. He said, no, you do this.
Really? That was it? No choice?
Turns out this is what I do.
Wow. And you've been doing it for, nearly 10 years now?
Well, 7 years. 7 or 8 years now.
Wow.
Certainly 7 years full-time.
Yep.
The first probably 12 or 18 months was doing spray workshops, but they'd say, can you talk about
it? You tacked it on.
Yeah, just tack it on the end. Just talk about being bogged for 10 minutes at the end. And then they started saying, will you come to a field day and talk for half an hour? And I was like, and now it's more than my full-time job. Yep.
Wow, I bet it is.
And since writing that article, I've driven a lot of places in Australia, plus flights, like flown to a lot of places, WA and Tassie and the territory I usually fly to, but driven over 500,000 Ks.
Wow.
And been face-to-face with, I think it's over 35,000 people now.
Yep. In
every corner of the country. So it's definitely my full-time job.
Yeah.
Yep.
Where are you going to, Mary, when you go to these locations, these communities? Is it a public meeting of people, or are you going to the service providers, or both?
I'm just going to, people organise an event, or they say, will you come here?
Yeah.
So it's the local town hall, it's the shearing shed, it's the farm shed. Yeah. It might be an industry conference, so there can be anywhere from 3 people to 500 people in the room.
Wow. And they ask you to speak. So you give an address. That's how it works.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
That was sort of the main thing. In the last few years, since 23, we started a program called Bogged Breaks, which is put on the brakes and take a break, which is essentially it's a mental health getaway for blokes, but we don't use those words.
No.
Ever.
No.
It's a getaway for blokes to just, put on the brakes.
Yeah.
We teach them some skills and tools and that they can use in their life to manage their mental health. We break down the barriers, peel away the layers of the onion.
Yeah.
And we create a brotherhood is the other thing. That the blokes who come to that then they're mates for life.
So how do you do that? Because blokes don't like opening up much. A lot of blokes don't like opening up much. It is hard for them to peel back the layers of the onion, as you call it, and really even to get them in the room. I imagine now you've got a bit of a following and a reputation, and probably people realise that you're not. You're not going to expect them to sit around, and hold hands, and sing campfire songs, and hugging at the end.
Kumbaya.
Kumbaya, as I've said before.
That's exactly what
as I said at the start of this podcast, we didn't want it to be all fucking kumbaya and shit. But because you would easily scare them away. Like if somebody said to me, "Come to a mental health retreat," I'd be like, "No."
Well, that's why we don't call it that.
Yeah.
Look, there are men's mental health retreats out there that are sitting around naked in the forest drumming and singing Kumbaya.
That suits some
we
people.
are so not that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've never followed the mould. I don't follow the mainstream approach because I don't believe it fucking works.
Yeah.
If it worked, 76% of the suicides in this country wouldn't be male.
Now.
It's not working for men.
Yeah.
So my approach is very different. A lot of mainstream don't like me because I don't follow the mould. I don't follow the rule book they've told me.
Well, you're not
And
part of the medical model either.
Well, I have.
You're going to be a risk to them.
I have no qualifications in mental health.
Absolutely.
None.
Yep.
But I know blokes.
Yeah, they'll be
And
frightened of you.
when people say blokes don't talk, they do and they will. But you've got to give them the right people in the right place.
Yeah.
And when they get there, and I think they're very brave because I don't give them details about what we do. Mm-hmm. And if I did put on our website, listed out the things that we do at Bog Breaks, I get a lot of blokes going, "Oh fuck, I'm not going to do that." But I'd get a lot of blokes going, "I want to do that." So we'd get all these applications for all the wrong reasons.
Yeah. Because the ones that are saying they don't want to do that, they're the ones that you need to get in the room. They're the probably ones that need it the most, right?
Yeah. Well, they don't get a choice when they get there. They get to do it. They have to do it. It's and I say to them, you got to lean into this. Just lean into it. Trust me, you'll do shit that you would never even dream of doing. But afterwards, they're like, I would have never done that in my wildest dreams, but that was amazing. So we do fun stuff. We don't sit down and have lectures all weekend or talks. There's a talk when they get there. There's one at the end, and throughout the weekend, there's just little short toolbox talks, 20 minutes, half an hour maybe. Not many of them, but they're just different options and tools that we give them to manage their mental health. Because I believe that there's a lot more ways to manage it than medication. And I think, if you give them those options, and I'm not against medication if you need it and that's what works for you. But what I want them to do is explore all the options.
Not just use it as a blanket cure.
Do not get on Google, diagnose yourself as depressed and go and get some medication. What are you actively going to do to try and change that? So that's the approach we take. And I just say to the guys, like, if you want to go and sit and talk to a counsellor, do that. If you want to go and sit on a mountain and meditate, do that. If you want to go to a doctor, do that. Find what works for you. It might be just go fishing. What is it that you need to do? And find what works for you.
Part of the key surely is doing, isn't it? Like whatever, it doesn't matter. Just do act on it. Like do something. Don't deny it. Don't ignore it. But whatever you do, I like that approach. I think the idea of Mary just say do something. Do whatever you're comfortable with. Do something. Take a step. And address it in some way is so much better than not doing anything. Whatever it is, getting people to act on it.
Well, probably
and start the
one
process.
of the most important things I try and teach them over the weekend is to put themselves first. Because that's one thing that men aren't good at. Because throughout millennia, the men have been the protectors and the providers in our society. And so they're good at looking after everybody else, but they're not good at looking after themselves. And we see this with physical health as well as mental health. So it's teaching them to put themselves first, which is really, really hard for blokes. And they're like, oh, that seems a bit selfish. And I'm like, when you do that, then other things start to fall into place around you because you're better. You're happier. You're healthier. And so you're in a better position to look after the people around you.
Yeah.
So put yourself first. So that's a big part of the weekend, is a bit of that empowering them to put themselves first, hopefully.
Yeah.
And you still see them slip back into old habits, but, we touch base with them and keep in touch with them. What have you changed? I don't want you to go home and overhaul your life and make all of these drastic changes.
Yeah.
Like, make one little thing, just one little change, and then next month maybe make another one.
Yeah.
Yep.
But just tiny little changes. And some blokes don't think they've made big changes, but they actually have. So it's interesting to watch the ones who just slip back into old habits, and that's everything, whether it's your health, whether it's your fitness, whether it's your relationship with alcohol, drugs, your family, whatever it is, your relationship with yourself.
Yeah.
Go back and change one little
thing.
tiny thing.
Because if you try and give them a whole list of things to do, it just becomes overwhelming, and then it just becomes another stressful thing that they've got in their life that they're trying to deal with. So it is about, I think just changing one thing, seeing how much of a difference that can make, and then getting enthusiastic changing the next thing, isn't it? It's kind of becomes an ongoing, almost a snowball effect. But you've got to take that one thing first, and it's got to be something that's manageable and easy to
Achievable.
do. And
Achievable, sure.
Not unrealistic.
Because we have had guys who've gone, right, I'm going home, I'm going to woo, tiger, woo. And we watch them. They go home and they try and do everything. They try and give up grog. They try and... Next minute they're down in a heap. You pick them up again, dust them off and go, righto, I said one thing at a time, and then try and change everything. Woo, mate, woo. It's not achievable. You're setting yourself up for failure. So you're going to feel worse every time you keep failing. So just one thing. Instead of drinking 12 beers at night, have 6. Just cut it back slowly. Don't just go home and go, right, I'm never drinking again.
It doesn't work. We know that. That doesn't work.
No, it doesn't.
No, it doesn't. That sort of doesn't
we
work
talk
in any
about
sense.
this from time to time, don't we? We both
do.
like a beer, and we also recognise that it's not always that good for you, and then sometimes it has consequences. There are things that make life a little bit harder to deal with if you're using alcohol as a crutch all the time. But at the same time, we've been drinking it our whole life. I've been drinking it since I was 14, and to just stop it all of a sudden is not realistic.
Look, we've got guys who do. They go home and go, look, it actually doesn't serve me. And they quit, and that's great if that works
good
for
on
you.
them if it works for them. I agree.
Me personally, it's not going to work for me.
But to have
if that's
one day less on it, or have 2 days off a week of it,
which
or
is what we try and do. Moderate it moderate it so it doesn't drive.
Keep it weekends.
So it doesn't actually dominate your life. You're not you're doing things because of alcohol, but
start drinking mid-strength instead of full strength.
Just mix it up. Because that's more achievable in the long and sustainable, isn't it? That's the other thing.
That's a sustainable thing.
So that Mary would be interested. I know this is only 7 or 8 years in for you, but I'm wondering about the sustainable. I really love the idea of this is like empowering people themselves. So there's no crutches right from the start. It's, what can you do, mate? Yourself. Just a little bit of time, and it's coming from a safe place. Like you're going to their safe place, and they are acting. I really like those two elements of it. I think that's great. Is it holding up, do you think? Will the people that are taking these steps now, are they sticking to it? They got some long-term success, do you think?
Haven't. Well, we certainly have seen it, but we haven't actually documented that because we're such a small organisation.
We haven't got the resources probably to track them.
But, I actually just had discussions this morning about that's something. We measure the impact at the event, like when they first get there and when they leave. But again, when they finished at the last day, that we've got this euphoric, oh yes, this was magnificent. I want to know in 6 months' time. And we do keep in touch with them and that. And I could sort of list off the guys who are still doing things or have made huge improvements, and also the ones who've just gone back to old habits. But
anecdotally, your gut feel is...
I'd say we've got it.
It's holding out for more than not.
I'd say, someone said to me, was it, would you have 50%? I was like, well, I think it's a bit more than that. I hope so.
Excellent.
I hope it's a bit more than that they're making changes. And we also, have a private, closed Facebook group for those blokes to be in, to lean on each other. Like I give them my number and I say, look, don't write it on a dunny wall. Don't flick it out like a blackjack dealer. But if you need me, ring me. Don't ring me twice a week to see if I'm okay. Don't send me 30 memes a day. But if you need me, ring me. But I want you to lean on each other. And so there's this brotherhood out there that now they're interacting between the different groups, and they get to use that Facebook group as a really safe place that only the the men who've been to bog breaks are in that group.
Yeah.
So they've all been through the same experience.
Yeah.
And they can put it in there and say, I'm having a rough day because of this, this and this. Their phone just lights up with blokes ringing them, checking in with them, sending them a text, just to, to hold each other up.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And so, we need to get that long-term data. 2023 was the first bog breaks that we did. It worked better than I ever thought it would. And one of the big things that is bigger than I expected out of it was the ripple effect when they go home to their family, their workplaces and their community. That they become like someone that other blokes will come to and go, oh, I heard you into this thing. Yeah, I've been having a rough time. And they start those conversations. Or they're proudly wearing that shirt. And people are like, oh, what's this about? And they start to talk about it. So so
they become your ambassadors, because they're proud probably to have been involved themselves and to taken that step, and then become proud of the broader work that you do.
And then I hand select guys to come back and help facilitate future bog breaks. So not every bloke who comes wants to come back in what we call a red shirt to be a facilitator, but they don't all have the qualities for that. So I handpick some guys to say, would you like to come back as a red shirt? And they usually, tear up on the phone because they're just so damn proud to come back and help other blokes through the process that they enjoyed so much.
And so what are some of these communities look like? Like you're obviously, I know you're in Geelong yesterday, no, tomorrow. Is it tomorrow that you're doing Geelong West Footy Club, I think, from memory?
Geelong West Cricket Club.
Cricket Club, is it? Yeah, okay. So, you go from a town like Geelong, which is a pretty big town, but you must go to some very remote communities as well.
Yes, definitely. Been out to William Creek in South Australia, out on the Unadilla track. Been up to Roxby Downs, been over to Penong on the edge of the Nullarbor. Most of the places I go are fairly remote, I suppose.
So you might, I think you mentioned earlier, you might only get like 3 blokes in the room kind of thing. Yeah, that must be an interesting presentation.
No, it's all right. Sometimes, and it's probably giving a bit more guidance to the organisers because we don't know what works in these communities and we don't know the people or, where there's a cattle sale or a sheep sale or what's on. So we let the locals, you organise it. And so, they might have something at 10 o'clock in the morning, expect all the blokes to come on a Wednesday. Well, they're not. The farming community, they're not coming. You've got to have it Friday night or Saturday night.
Of course,
And so that's where you'll get the 3 blokes turn up because, there was a shower of rain, everyone's got to go spraying or everyone wants to plant or something. So those sort of little things can happen and everything might be set for everyone to come and then there's a shower of rain or something and they've got to move stock or...
stop it, Mary. Scott, this is just... it's just such a beautiful conversation. You take me back to my childhood when you talk about moving stock and spraying and a shower of rain. It's just... It's taking me straight back. I left the farm, when I was 18. I still spent a lot of time in rural and regional Australia. I'm a keen hunter, so I go back to property, private property mainly, and hunt still, So I've still got a lot of connection back to country. But when you talk about those cycles of, seasons and farming, it's so deep. It's in you grew up on a property, it's in your blood, isn't it? It's in my blood still. I'm not a farmer, but, oh, my God, I feel for those rural communities and those seasons are just fantastic.
And when there is rain or is an event like that, you can't just put it off. You've just got to go and act on it. Like it's what people probably don't realise who don't grow up in those communities is that it's a 24/7 job. You're always on. You're always working. You will get time off, but it's you're constantly on call, basically.
Yeah, and the climate, the markets, all of that's what drives. That's the clock of regional communities, agricultural communities. It is about rain and dry and wind and all of those things and commodity prices. It doesn't matter the day of the week. It's all driven by exactly those things you're talking about. And it's
those things rich impact on the farmer. But when the farmer stops spending money, when there's a drought or there's whatever, and the farmer stops spending money, that flows on to the bloke who does concreting, that flows on to the electricians,
absolutely.
That flows on to the fuel dealership, the tyre service, the machinery dealership, that whole town suffers. Everybody suffers in that town when the farmers suffer. And that's, I guess, one of the things that I think society tends to forget. They're like, just whinging farmers. Well, hang on, there's a whole community out there. If people move away from that area, then they don't get resources for the hospital. They don't get funding for teachers and hospitals and medicine in that area. If people on the land suffer and they have to move away. So
Yep.
the number of people in that in those regional communities is super important, because people want to have babies there and they can't because they don't have the skills at the hospital to manage that sort of stuff. So it's that flow-on effect to the whole community, and we're seeing this particularly at places like Cunnamulla and stuff in Western Queensland with the carbon farming.
Yeah.
Massive areas of land being locked up for carbon farming.
Yeah.
Those families are gone.
Yeah.
So now the funding for the hospital, the funding for the schools, the local stock and station agent their turnover has decreased by 60% because there's nothing being done with that land. So that's huge on those communities.
So when you say carbon farming, what are we talking about?
Just large stations being bought and locked up for carbon.
Right.
So trees, leaving the tree canopy not.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
They're not
just
planting
credits.
trees, just
No.
leaving
They're getting
them
credits
there.
for having
the
those
carbon
trees.
credits
Yeah.
for
yeah.
massive. I'm talking
Massive tracts of
To-
land.
12%.
massive
Yeah.
tracts of land. So those families are gone. Those children are gone from the school.
Yeah.
And there's just there's no, like, a lot of them don't have stock. Some have stock, but very limited stock. So there's the local sheep sale doesn't have as many sheep or cattle or things like that. The bloke selling drench and dip and worming stuff for stock, that's decreased because there's not as many stock. So it's having a massive impact on some of those remote. Not to mention that the companies coming in and buying this land, money's not an issue. There was a property not far from my brother's place that sold for $28 million. What young person's going to go out to the bush and buy a property for $28 million?
Borrow money, that money.
My
at
brother
interest rates and-
was in Toowoomba, and Mum said, "Oh, are you going to stay for lunch?" He's like, "No, I'm going home before my wife puts the property on the market." That's just insane amount of money.
Yes.
And if you're under that much pressure and things have been weighing you down for years and you're just at the end of it and somebody comes and offers that kind of money for a property...
Oh, mate, that's walk in, run out.
It's bloody hard to
Yeah,
knock that back,
walk
isn't
in,
it?
run out.
Even generational families that have been...
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So they're just companies are just basically buying these farms so they can get some carbon credits.
Yep.
Is that what? Yeah.
That's exactly what's happening.
Yeah.
And just
To
people who actually
offset
want...
what are they doing?
People who actually want to go and buy a property and run sheep or cattle or goats or whatever they want to do, they can't afford that.
No, of course
So
not.
it's just put it beyond the realms of normal humans to buy.
And that income, that wealth that has purchased that, is going off and out of that community.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly.
There's nothing. So it's just left. The land's left there. So there's no income to be derived from it that's going to go into the local school or the hospital or whatever. So it's just gone into some multinational company somewhere.
But it's all those other yes, schools and hospitals are the big one, and the businesses in town.
Yeah.
But then there's nobody to play in the local footy club, and so that closes. There's no one to be on the tennis club committee. There's no one to run the rodeo because there's no bloody people left. So that there's hundreds of thousands of hectares, and they've just got one manager there to make sure the gate's shut, sort of thing.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's a huge impact on rural communities, and it boils my blood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I imagine it's not something that's going to slow down. I imagine it's
getting worse.
More and more as more and more companies need to, and as targets get lifted, then more of these properties are going to have to get bought, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully that changes.
You touched earlier on the rates of suicide and male suicide and male regional suicide. I'd like to sort of explore that a bit more. Is it getting worse? Is that growing, those numbers?
It's pretty. Well, I don't know. It's hard to say whether it's going up or down. It has hovered around the 75%. In the time I've been working in this space,
so 75% of all suicides are male. Is that what you mean? Yeah,
75% of. So currently it's 76%.
Yeah.
But when you break it down to like rural and metropolitan, so rural men are twice as likely to take their life as metropolitan men. They are 5 times more likely to take their life than metropolitan women. And we lose a farmer every 10 days.
To suicide.
And in the trades and resource sector, so tradies and miners, we lose a bloke every second day.
Wow.
Shit.
And
So there is all regional men working.
Yeah, they're working.
Farmers or
they're working in regional
rural
areas or remote areas. And the further you get from the city, the higher the rate gets. So they look at regional, rural, and remote.
Yes.
And I think there's very remote as well.
Yes, there is.
Yeah.
Not many, but there are some. That's a statistical division.
Yeah, I think that's the divisions that they have.
Yeah, very
Northern
remote,
Territory, unfortunately, always takes out the title for the highest state rate of suicide, and it all takes out the title for the highest male rate of suicide. The male rate of suicide in the Northern Territory is, I think, 3 times the metropolitan rate. Or it's very high, which is just it's horrific. So the rates are just incredible. And this is why I'm kicking the can. This is why I'm doing it differently, because I don't think the millions and billions of dollars that are put into mental health every year, but in Australia we don't have a national strategy for male suicide prevention. Well, why the bloody hell not, when 76% of them are male? We have this big fluffy one-size-fits-all. Well, I don't think it works. So that's why...
Clearly not working, is it?
To me, it's not working. I don't know why anybody else can think that it would work, but there's so much money put into this one size. And I actually think we need something different for men and women. So the mainstream approach to mental health is designed around the way women operate, the way women communicate, the way women learn, grieve and heal, not the way men do it.
Is that because these programs or strategies have been designed by women, or is it because they've been designed by people who live in the city?
Bit of both. Bit of both. So 82% of the psychologists in Australia are female. And it's all around how women communicate, not how blokes do it.
And I think you said earlier, it's as if they're saying, well, this is how we do it, it works for us, now you blokes should be doing this as well. And it's just not going to work.
No, and that's why they're always saying, blokes don't do this right. Blokes need to learn to open up and be vulnerable. And what a crock of shit. Men do that. They just do it differently to women. So the standard approach for mental health is you take someone into a nice white painted room, you put them on a couch or a chair and you stare them in the eye and you ask them how they're feeling and talk about well, that's how women do it. That's not how men do it. And so I think it's 65% of men never go back to a professional service because they're not comfortable. That's not their comfort zone. That's not how they communicate. So it's fairly inefficient for men. Look, some blokes get a lot out of it, and that's great. But there's a lot of blokes out there, clearly, who don't.
And like I said before, they're probably the ones that need it the most. So you've been doing this for a while now. How do you do it? How do you get a bloke to open up?
Well, for a start, you've got to, I guess, if you're familiar with the military term of sit into the foxhole.
Vaguely?
Yeah, so the foxhole's where the one bloke is sitting in the middle of no man's land under heavy fire. You've got to get in there with them. But simple things like women communicate face-to-face and men communicate shoulder-to-shoulder.
Standing at the footy or...
stand shoulder-to-shoulder. Don't stare them in the eye. Those sorts of things. The bog breaks, I guess we just create this safe male space. Like, I'm the only female there. This is a safe place, and it's like Fight Club. What happens here stays here. You're not to go home, and you're not to be doing live streaming on any social media and that sort of bullshit. This is a safe place because there's blokes here who don't want other people to know that they're here.
They're even there.
Yes.
So it's I guess building that confidence that it's okay, and this is. I quite enjoy having a room full of women because I do talks for just women as well, but it's about how to communicate with men, and it's pretty much the same presentation but a bit more on how to communicate with men. And I do like it when I get some of these hardcore feminists who are like, oh, you're anti-women. I'm like, well, I'm bloody well not, because I actually am one. But it's, understanding that we communicate differently and that's okay. So society seems so busy trying to make everyone the same. We're actually not.
No, we're not. And we should celebrate.
And that's what I'd like to celebrate.
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't mean we're not equal or not on a, no. It just means we function differently. And
function differently is exactly it.
And we think differently, and we have different priorities perhaps as well.
And
at
that's
times, so,
okay.
Yeah.
Men and women, may we forever remain a mystery to each other. I heard once, I thought, that sort of resonates for me, you know, that's fine. That's fine.
I think it's life fun, right?
I think it does. I think it's an innate part of being human.
In my presentation, I go through how women communicate, how men communicate. And probably the most common question I get from blokes is, can you please come home and talk to my partner? Because that just made so much sense to me. And even women go, oh, wow, I'm actually doing this all wrong. So it's
interesting, isn't it? So that communication, of everything we've talked about, like communication is the absolute key here. Well, that's what we're talking about, isn't it? It is about communication.
Well, every relationship is about communication.
It is.
So if marriage is in that breakdown, it's usually about communication.
It is.
By finances, but
understanding, listening, you know, and hearing, you know, actually taking it in.
And it's having that fair go. Like, you know, there's so many services out there for women, and I got accused, like last year, of, you need to do this for women. I'm like, actually, no, I don't. No, I don't. Like, most of the groups I speak to are mixed groups, but when I have a blokes only, it's a blokes only, and I'm pretty hard on that rule. That's the line. And no, I don't need to go and start doing the same thing for women, because there's lots of other people who are much better with women than me. And they can stay in I'll stay in my wheelhouse and do what I'm good at. And, you know, why? Because, I don't know, it's this thing that, you know, I'm anti-women, or, you know, you want to take women's services away. No, I do not.
You're just trying to add a service that doesn't exist.
Well, why can't we just have the same amount, or at least even a quarter of the amount of services for men, the equivalent? So if you went to look for a domestic violence shelter for men and their children in this country.
Isn't any? None.
Oh, the last time I heard there was one.
Right.
So there is no shelter for men and their children to escape domestic violence. Now, that to me just seems insane. And
none. We're not saying there's less or fewer, or not as many as women have, but essentially none.
And so I'm not saying take away the ones for women. We need the ones for women.
Of course. But don't we need some for men?
Why isn't there some for men?
Some for men.
And look, fair enough, you know, domestic violence against men is way, you know, a fraction of what it is against women.
Is it?
But it still exists, right?
Is it?
Is it? I don't know. You tell me. You
40% of domestic violence victims are actually men, and that's the ones that report.
Right.
So
are we talking physical violence, or are we talking emotional violence?
Physical mainly. Well, I guess they're physical. It's physical if the men are desperate enough to report. And when you look at the literature, so women are much more likely to be emotional and psychological abusers. Men are much more likely to be physical abusers. However, when you look at the deaths from domestic violence, 40% are men.
Wow. So
it's not that different. Like, it's really not.
That's amazing.
Why isn't that being reported?
Because it doesn't meet the feminist agenda.
And
it's held down. And you will even see our Prime Minister and other politicians on the television saying, you know, about the domestic violence figures and, well, the, you know, men killing women or whatever. Well, they actually pull in murder numbers as well, because the domestic violence on its own is actually not high enough for their liking, so they'll pull in murder numbers as well, which I find frightening. And I've even heard the Prime Minister say something about the suicide, that suicide is the leading cause of death for Australians. No, it's not. It is. It's the leading cause of death for men aged 15 to 45.
Okay.
It doesn't even make it in the top 20 for women. So it is not the leading cause of death for Australians. It's heart disease, but it's not even the leading cause of death for all men. It's only in those age brackets. So that sort of misinformation from mainstream media in particular, and, you know, I get on my high horse about the domestic violence stuff, because I think that's important for men as well. It's super important for women. But why is there nothing for men? And even the legislation, and even the services. So the services for men, like, and I could show you the website of one for domestic violence for women. There's 24-hour support and emergency accommodation for women, children and pets.
Right.
For men, you can call between 8 a.m. and 10 p.m. And the first thing it says, if you're the abuser,
Really?
it's just that biased, so that blatantly biased. In the legislation in New South Wales, the domestic violence legislation in New South Wales, dogs have more rights than men. And I shit you not, I couldn't make that shit up. That is frightening. We have animal welfare legislation to look after dogs.
Yeah.
Dogs don't need to be in the domestic violence legislation.
No,
They're in the animal welfare. You kick the dog, that's animal welfare. But dogs literally have more rights and more protection from domestic violence than men. Now, that just blows my head apart. Can't fathom that one at all.
I had no idea of that. I know it's not uncommon, domestic violence against men, but had never heard that statistic before. It's as high as that. As
Not many men report it, is the other thing too. So,
but you're talking reported.
This is reported, so there's got to be more
very
out
high.
there.
Yeah.
And I know myself personally, men I have met in fairly high prominent positions in the country or the state, that they have come to me and said, I was a victim of domestic violence. That's why my first marriage fell apart, and I never reported it. These are men with, these are politicians, these are sports stars, men with a voice. This is not some, bloke round the corner who's shy, and those men are not reporting it. So how many more are out there? That's just, astounding.
And do you think? Do you think that that's contributing to suicide rates as well?
Look, I honestly think I think there is definitely some, but I don't think domestic violence is the main thing. I actually believe it's a family court.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I did want to sort of touch on that, because it seems to me that in my personal experience and knowledge of people's situation, that is a very biased, one-sided.
Oh, it's just
stacked
dreadful.
against men.
It is. It's dreadful.
And potentially that is a form of domestic violence in itself. Being able to use that system in order to gain advantage over somebody else in a very emotionally violent one, I suppose.
It does, and it really, I get to see the really ugly side of that and the really ugly side of women, and it makes me embarrassed to be a female with some of the behaviour I see. There is no comeback for that. There is no accountability for that. They can say and do whatever they like in the family court in all sorts of slander, and there's no repercussions. And I'm just like, wow. But if the man did that, he'd be in jail. Like, it's so biased. I have men all over the country on the verge of suicide and attempted because all they want to do is see their kids. There's no, and men just don't get custody of their kids very often, like even just access. They just want access to their kids. And what would appear to be a normal level-headed female seems to somehow get into the family court system, and I don't know whether the lawyers or who is brainwashing them that he's evil, and there's a DVO and there's an AVO, and he did this to the kids, and he never did. But there's no, when it's proven to be false, even if it ever is, there's no sorry, there's no she needs to pull her head in or any of that stuff. I'm dealing with men who haven't seen their children in 11 years, yet they still have to pay child support. These men are quite happy to pay child support if they could just see their kids, and it's just so cruel and so evil, and we're losing men hand over fist because of the family court system that is just grossly biased.
Having said that, there are men who are violent as well. How do we address that? Like, how do we teach men, young men in particular, have better attitudes towards women? Because that surely is a part of the overall picture. A part of the overall problem. Making sure that, because, yes, what you're talking about is a situation that most people aren't aware of. But you've opened my eyes a little bit, but the overall picture is how do you address generational attitudes of men towards women, because that's definitely out there as well, right?
Yeah, I don't think it's as bad as society thinks it is.
No.
I think there are definitely, well, what's my usual line? I'm no cactus expert, but I know a prick when I see one. So, there are men out there who are abusive and just not good quality at all. Yeah. You know what? There are women out there the same that are just not good quality and shit people. So I think we don't give enough credit to the good men that are out there. I think one of the major problems in society is the lack of fathers in boys' lives. Yeah. And that's the family court stopping that these men are not allowed to have any access to their children. And, I think they're starting to see this in the US now with these school shootings and stuff, that these boys, they didn't have a dad. Let them see their bloody father. Women raise boys, men raise men. They need to have men in their lives, and just even as little kids, that rough play that dads do with little boys that mums don't. Mums cuddle up and read stories and those important things that mums do. But there's important stuff that dads do, and there's a lot of literature on this and books that I've been reading and listening to podcasts about, that the little kids, little boys, men playing rough with their sons and whatever, when the little fella, hits too hard, he goes, no, woo, pull up, that's too hard, that's it, stop. And so over time, that, the men teach the boys those boundaries of where's enough. You don't hit someone like that, or, how to shake a hand, and those sort of things that men can only teach boys. And women can't teach boys those things. And it's, I think if boys had more access to their fathers, which is largely prevented by the mother. There are some fathers out there who have nothing to do with their kids because they don't want to. They're very few and far between in my experience. The ones I'm seeing are blokes who are broken, who just want to see their kids. So I think that's important, the role of men in the lives of these boys. There was a study done in the US where all the young men in this particular area were just off the rails, crime, just running amok. There's a big prison there with some pretty hardcore criminals in it. So they just did this study. They let those guys out, and they pulled those young fellas into line and said, don't follow our path, don't do what we did, you'll end up in there. And it changed, like all the young fellas. Right. It just changed the whole community. It was, it's quite impressive, the results of letting these blokes who'd been there, done that, learnt the lesson, go back out and pull these other young fellas into line. And, they had role models. They had blokes that would say, nah, stop that. And, it's like young men are designed to take risks and do dumb shit. But you've got to have the older fellas there to say, yeah, look at him now, that's fine. Righto, boys, knock it off. So you need that. Yeah, there's a point. And the women would be going, oh, no, he can't do that. Don't let him do that. You've got to let them do some dumb shit. But when you've got older, sensible blokes around, go, no, that's it, boys. That's it. That, game's over. So I think it's really important to have fathers in the lives, or at least decent men that they spend a lot of time with. Some blokes to take these kids fishing and stuff like that.
And we often talk about the role of footy club and cricket club in the community,
huge.
don't we? And having that sort of influence. Huge. So even if they don't have a good role model in a father, they've at least got good male role models around them in a sporting environment or some sort of community environment.
Definitely. Footy clubs are super important.
I think I've told you, Scott, the story. It's about drug taking in young men, but I think it's a good example of what you're talking about. My younger son playing football in a regional country town in Bendigo, in the local footy club, and one night after training, the coach of his side, who had a mate who was a copper, brought him in while they were just straight after and gave him about 15 minutes on ice and what it was doing, its influence in the town. So while they were there, footy training with their coach and all their mates, local copper comes in and goes, we've had this is what we've picked up, this is where this stuff's going, don't touch this stuff. This is like, for me, that's really basic, along the lines of sort of stuff you're doing. Get the message from authoritative local sources in a safe
and blokes
place.
They respect.
That's right.
Yep.
We're all around, with their mates, people they respect. Keep it simple, keep it local. I think I'm a great, advocates for local community stuff.
That local cop is probably out there helping him at training and stuff, and so they know him through other things, other sport, or he's one of the trainers at the footy club. So they grow that respect. So they're going to believe him.
That's the model, I think. It is.
They're going to believe him. It's having those good men around.
Yeah. And they're there. I agree with you.
Absolutely. Most men are good.
Yeah, I know. Well, I think Scott mentioned to you earlier on, we started doing this about a year ago, these podcasts, and one of the things Scott said to me when he asked me if I'd sit down with him and have these conversations was, we just want to push back a bit against this sort of toxic masculinity stuff that's floating around a bit. Let's just find some local blokes who are doing interesting and good things. Yeah. And we're up to like 41 now. You're our first female chatter. Yeah. But and we've found 40 blokes in a year that are they're doing incredibly interesting and powerful things. Publishing and writing and all sorts of things.
They're not famous. They're just local communities.
Everyday blokes.
They're there. They're there.
I get so angry with that phrase of toxic masculinity because we hear that so much. And I guess I get to see the other extreme. So I get to see so much toxic femininity. But you may remember all the news stuff about the SAS and all the inquiry and stuff in the military and stuff. And I saw some media things say, they're just, the elite forces, they're the special forces, they're just, toxic alpha males. They're too masculine. Can you imagine if you just popped the shoe on the other foot for a moment and just told a woman that she was too feminine? Like, just absurd. Absolutely absurd.
Tells your mum,
well, you know what?
She's too feminist. Good luck.
Well, you know what? If Australia starts getting invaded, I want the toughest, roughest alpha bloke I can find.
I mean, this goes with the territory, I would have thought.
And you train them to be that way.
That's what you want.
Of course. That's their job.
You put them through the toughest, roughest training, so you need the toughest, roughest blokes to be able to handle it. And then you cut them down when they are like that.
It's just crazy stuff that when you see some of the things that society and people say about men and to men, it's like if you just flipped it and said the same thing to a woman, oh my God, it's not acceptable. So why is it acceptable to treat men that way?
Well, the way I've always felt about it, and I suppose the reason we want to start, one of the reasons I want to start this podcast was I just want to get the message out there that it's okay to be a bloke. And it's okay to act like a bloke. You still got to be a good person. You got to be a good person. You got to be good to yourself. You got to be good to the people around you. You got to be a good to the women in your life. You got to be good to the blokes in your life. You got to contribute to your local society. You've got to be a big good person, but you can still be a bloke.
Absolutely, and I think that's super important for our boys to know that it's fine to be a bloke. And I see those things on social media where it's like, teach your boys to be good men. Well, hang on a minute. Why don't you teach all your children to be good people?
Good people,
Don't stop pointing at the boys and saying they're to blame.
Because by saying that, you're saying there's something wrong with them.
Inherently wrong. Well, when you see schools and that making the boys stand up and apologise to the good, wait a minute, actually teach your daughters to be good women, because there's a very fine, sometimes people say strong women. Well, you know what? Just be careful. It's a strong woman and not a bitch, because they're very different things. They're very different things, and I think there's so many good, strong, positive women out there. They need to call those other women into line when they see them being so toxic and so horrible to men or boys. It's like, wait a minute. Why is it okay to go one way and not the other? So I think everyone should teach their children to be good people, regardless of what their gender is.
It's interesting. I've worked with a lot of women, like a 40-year career across a whole range of, interesting and diverse activities, Mary, but and in very feminised environments, so social work and child protection, juvenile justice stuff. So I've worked with a lot of social workers and a lot of a lot of females in my workplace. It was like they were sort of, for much of the time, very feminised sort of workplaces. But I've met a lot of women who, really hated working with too many women. Like more women than not would go, oh my God, get me some blokes into this mix. Women can be pretty bloody tough on each other, and they sometimes like, oh shit, I want to step back. They like to have a bit of a mix and a few more men in there to mix it up a bit.
Look, I actually prefer to work with men because they're straight down the line. There's not that bitchiness. And again, that comes back to the evolution of the species, basically. Yeah. And I've done a lot of reading and listening into the evolutionary psychology, which is basically, essentially, turns out there is actually some theory behind the way I do things, completely different for men. And that way that women get bitchy with each other, the way men actually form better teams than women do. And they've studied, super successful sporting teams, men and women. They've studied preschool kids, kindergarten kids, of their inherent nature to what are they going to lean to. And the boys all want to go off and fight the baddies and form a team, and the girls wanted nurture. So them, in the elite sport, the women in a super successful team, that they'll still find women like, I don't really think everyone on the team likes me. So there's still that level of bitchiness, whereas you put blokes together in a team, they're a team. And that's why we put them in the military, because they form a team better. So there's a whole bunch of evolutionary stuff back to tribal things of why women are like that and why men are like that. There's good reasons for both to be like that.
Look, I have no issues with, like, as a society, trying to give more opportunity for women to have more roles that blokes do, and for more blokes to have more roles that women do.
If they want to.
And to maybe close the divide or the gender gap or whatever you want to call it. But I don't think you can throw the rule back out. You can't throw the evolutionary rule back out the window because you think it's old-fashioned.
It's fine to be a woman or to be a man. Exactly. And it's about being a good, isn't it? It's about being a good person. And I agree.
And I think that, in that attempt to... And there's plenty of opportunity for women to do roles that were traditionally male. And I think is it Denmark or Sweden or one of those countries, they spent so much time trying to, make women or, encourage women into the engineering and stuff like that, and away from the teaching and nursing and stuff. And they actually just decided, forget it. Do what you want to do. And they naturally went back to their natural strengths.
I think women are just more natural nurturers, more natural. They just are. Again, it doesn't mean that some women aren't.
No big deal.
Some women aren't nurturers. It just means that generally, that's kind of
it tends to be their natural wheelhouse. And again, there are women who are super good engineers and all the rest of it. But
absolutely.
When I can't remember which country it was, one of those Scandinavian ones, and they just let them just do what you want, and they actually tended back to their natural things. Which when my kids were going to university, there was such a push to get girls into engineering and all
science,
these non-typical female things that, I was struggling to get my kids to uni, to pay for my kids to go to uni. I said to my son, just look for scholarships. And he's like, I can't, Mum. There's nothing for a white boy to apply for a scholarship. There was nothing for him to get a scholarship to help with uni fees. And I was like, that's pretty sad, really, isn't it? Because,
So, that's pretty sad that in order to open up doors for certain sections of our community, we're closing doors for the others.
Whereas my daughter, and she was doing, not engineering and stuff, she was doing history, and there was lots of things for her, even in something that might traditionally be a more female-orientated stuff.
Still.
She got scholarship after scholarship for this, that, and the other thing, and a bursary here and a grant there, but my son got nothing. And I thought, that just doesn't sound very fair. There should be opportunity for all of the groups, not just some.
Mary, I've just been thinking as we've been chatting, I'm wondering just the next step here. So what What's the great challenge? One of the things I'm wondering about here, like, how do you do all this shit? Like, how do you get through this? Because are you it? We need 100 of you, doing this stuff.
The world's not ready for that.
Well, you know what I mean, though. Like, you're one person. You've got this great message, great approach, which is clearly working and working well. How do you replicate that? Can you replicate it in some way? How are you feeling confident you can get to enough of these men?
I'm just going to start doing more and more bog breaks. I think, I had grand ideas that I'd start all these different programs, something for schools and something for Indigenous boys and something for this other group and something for this. But I think what I've got to do is just stay in my wheelhouse and stick with what I'm good at and what I can easily replicate.
Yeah.
I can give the bones of something for school programs, but as for little kids, I'm going to need to pay someone to deal with that because I'm not good with. I'm great with teenage boys, but little kids no. So, but I don't have enough days in the year to do schools and do what I'm doing as well. So, I think if I just keep doing what I'm doing with the bog breaks, that will reach the generations, because we take everything from 18 to 100 age group in those bog breaks, and we mix the ages around. We don't just put one 18-year-old and in a group with 40-year-old men. We put a couple of young fellows, a couple of middle-aged fellows and a couple of older fellows, so there's sort of at least someone in their age bracket in those groups. And hopefully what I'm going to do is, a lot of those men have children of their own that they're going to go home. They're going to be able to, we're going to impact the generations that way, rather than me trying to be all things for everybody. So I think the Bog Breaks program is something that I'm super proud of, because it works so damn well. We see such a change in everything, like their willingness to talk about stuff. We see a massive change in their help-seeking behaviour. That they'll put their hand up when they're doing it tough, or they'll stop and put on the brakes and go, right, what can I do? What did I learn at Bog Breaks that I could do to change things here, to stop me spiralling and getting in my head or getting so anxious about something? So hopefully, if I just keep doing those, I'm going to keep impacting men of all of the different age groups, and that will flow down. And if I create this brotherhood, this army of men out there who have been through this experience, they're able to help other ones. They can go and work, volunteer at their local footy club and help these younger men and teach the younger men that, and they can go and help the old guys in their community mow their lawn or have a yarn to them if they need it. And I think that's the easiest way for me to keep, I guess, teaching what I'm doing is through the Bog Breaks. I can't really. It's being considered and looked at to get people to do my presentation, and I can give someone my presentation, they can deliver it, but they don't bring my life experience, they don't bring my attitude, they don't bring my smart ass to it, they don't bring my sense of humour or my lack of care factor to say whatever the hell I want.
To offend people.
So I can't really replicate the speaking engagement stuff, but I can make Bog Breaks and have blokes who can do that.
You spoke earlier about, I think it was in the Bog Breaks, your little very short, sessions, chatting sessions, toolboxes, I think you sort of things. Is any of that replicable? Is that a word? Is there a little toolkit that these guys can take away, a checklist or something? Is there anything at all for them to take with them as a tool for the next step, to written down?
We haven't really got anything written down yet, but that is something we're working on, as some more resources.
I just want a little product, a little takeaway product in your hand of something that would enable them to.
Something you can look back on and go, am I falling back into those old habits?
I was thinking a bit more of the other way, Scott, in terms of being, here's a group of guys that need a hand. These are the things that came out of it for me. I could go and talk to them about my bog break, and it was, these are the key things, something, I don't know, just a little takeaway that could help them be a help to the next lot. I'm trying to think about that nuclear reaction of, spreading all of that.
I think for the sustainability and actually changing the landscape in general, which I feel a little bit small and insignificant in that space, but was talking to someone recently, and I've been quite protective of the brand and the IP around it and the way I do things, and he's like, but what if you could make this last forever? What if you changed the status quo of the way people, the way mainstream treats men? What if you could change that? And I have been asked to, essentially train the trainers to just talk to mental health providers and things like that, which And I had a bloke in one of my talks stand up and he said, I have been to counsellors, I've been to psychologists, I've been to psychiatrists over the last 3 years, and listed off all the things that had gone on in his life. And he said, can you go and teach them what you've just... He said, I've just learnt more.
He's got it, the penny dropped for
him. He said, what you just talked about in the last 45 minutes. He said, I learnt more in the last 45 minutes about how to help myself than I've learnt in the last 3 years from all these professionals. And I was like, mate, that's very kind. But what do you think my chances are of going and telling psychologists that what they're doing
what
is
they
wrong?
learn in uni is all crap.
Is all bullshit. I said, I would rather go out and help blokes like you and actually have an impact. I said, the likelihood of them listening to me is very limited, and I'm quite happy to do it. And so maybe I can do some sort of professional development in that space for them. And look, I had a lady sit in one of my talks and she said, I have worked in psychology for 35 years, and she said, I've never heard it put so well. And I'm just a scientist. I'm an ag scientist. I haven't even done a mental health first aid course. So, and I'm refusing to do one.
Well, it's probably a good thing, because you don't have any preconceived notions of how it should be done, or you're acting on what you're seeing in the community.
I think the key, I think, is as long as you recognise that and don't try and do it, which you're not about to. So I'll go over there now because I know these things. You're not pretending any of that stuff. You're saying this is my own.
This is actually what's happening.
This is my own stuff. This is, and it's not that. It's something else. And if it works for you, go for it. Pick it up. I like that. But, my God, you train the trainer, people in that field, it'd be no good. It hasn't got a Medicare schedule benefit number. You don't want to know about it. Like if you can't claim it back on Medicare, they know you're not going to get in the door, and you don't want to get in that door.
No, well, that's
you do not want to get in that door.
You suddenly have all these restrictions around you. Just
and some of those
work.
The health departments and that have gone, we don't subscribe to her because she doesn't follow the rule book. Well, you know what? The way I do it is not going to help everyone, but it's sure as shit. Right. Helping some blokes that you're not helping. If I can pick up a few that you're missing, which is pretty much most of the blokes in rural Australia don't subscribe to that mainstream approach.
It might not work in Northcote in Melbourne or something, but it's it'll work in outback Queensland or in WA
it's got
the bush.
It's got a very strong rural flavour. I mean, you can hear Mary when she speaks. She's genuinely committed. She knows this shit and she's committed to it. And I can imagine her going sitting down and talking to these farm guys. So they would absolutely be all ears because you're genuine.
It's interesting to see though. Like I spoke to one group who they're city blokes, but it's a trucking company. And so they live in the city and they do bulk fuel haulage. Well, they're probably not hauling any at the moment, but they were, driving long hours in the trucks, but they're city-based blokes. So the company got me in to come and do a toolbox tour, do a talk for these guys. Well, you can imagine the attitude they came with. They all came and they sat down in the back as far from me as they could get. And they had the arms folded up here and they here we go. And I could just hear them say, here we go, she's going to tell us about us, this will be good.
Good luck.
And as I started to talk, the arms started to unfold and they're like, it started to lean forward. Looking at me as if to say, can she actually say this shit? And when I'd finished, I said, any questions? And this bloke who was sitting down the back with his arms folded, the highest and the strongest, he stood up and he said, that is the best fucking mental health talk I've ever heard.
Great.
And it's like, gotcha. Gotcha.
I think part of the issue we do have is that so much of this stuff is created, invented, and we're told what to do and how to think by people who have always lived in the cities. People have gone to university, people have lived in the cities, and they just don't understand how people think out in the bush. They don't understand how blokes think out in the bush. They can't. I mean, how can you create systems and programs and help people when you just don't even know what the hell
how things work in rural communities? Absolutely.
So I get asked all the time, like, why don't you should have some more handouts. I said, really, why? So at my talks I hand out this article. I give them the stickers. And I give them a TX card, which is a counselling service. That's pretty much all I hand out. I'll give them a copy of my poem as well. And I said, why do I need more you need more handouts. I said, why? So the demographic you're dealing with, they might learn by reading. This demographic doesn't. They learn by seeing. So if I want to teach them how to drive a tractor, I don't give them a manual and say, here, read this. I get them in the machine and I show them how to drive the tractor. So they're very visual, which is unique to agriculture. So 70 to 80% of the people in agriculture will be visual learners. They'll show them how to do it, they've got it. Give them something to read and they're like, not sure. So you're also dealing with about 40% of them are colourblind.
They're what? Colourblind.
Colourblind. So people who go out to rural areas and start putting up all these pretty graphs and things.
Half the audience is gone. Straight up.
You've lost 40% of them.
That's fantastic.
Even your business, your company logos and stuff. They can't see some of it.
Really? Okay.
Wow.
Why is that?
Because they're colourblind.
I know. Well, is that just in general, or is it just people out in the bush?
No, agriculture.
Really?
People in agriculture, about 40% are colourblind.
Is that a coincidence?
No, they go and hide out in agriculture. You'll also find quite a lot.
Because the environment in the city is just too
because they can get away. You'll find a lot of veterans in rural Australia as well. They get out there for the quiet and the space and the peace. So they're quite a unique demographic. I think in the general population, I think it's about 10 to 15% would be visual learners that show them how to do stuff. So that's the whole population. But when you get into agriculture, it's a much higher proportion. So these are the blokes we don't give them manuals. We tell them. We show them and how to do things. So that's my presentation is very visual. I do a practical demonstration with my buckets to show them. I talk about the shit buckets, and it's a bucket of shit. Everyone's got a bucket, and shit gets dumped in your bucket. But that bucket can get really full and really heavy. And I do this with buckets and balls and show the shit filling up in the bucket. And you can just see the penny get pushed in with 70% of the audience because they can see it. They can see that all of the shit in life getting dumped in that bucket. I'll say, it's kids, it's family, it's work, it's staff, or it's, drought or whatever. And they can see that going into the bucket and the bucket filling up. So it's a visual thing, and then they're like, gotcha.
One thing you do mention in that article, and you just touched on it then, is that some people may look to blame the isolation in those rural areas for the depression and for the rates of suicide. But you point out that most people actually, they love the isolation.
They love it.
They love the peace. They love working the land, looking after the land. They love looking after the animals. So it's not that's creating these issues.
No.
It's all the other shit that comes with it.
But then, like, once the other shit comes in, then that isolation can become a problem because it's easy for them to hide away from the world. It's easy for them to not go to footy. It's easy for them to not go to a community event because they're not in town. They can. So that isolation can then become a problem. Because they're not around other people
and
to empty that bucket, to talk about what the hell's going on for them.
And then on top of it, if the communities are disappearing, then you're losing those resources, those community resources, the footy club, the tennis club, whatever. So how do you fund all this?
Through my speaking engagements, I charge for that. So I charge government, all levels of government and corporates and stuff for those talks. But then you'll get a small community that says, oh no, we got funding. Well, you know what, that funding's come from the government, so I'll happily take that. But we work with them to make sure it fits within the budget. Like if they only got a small amount for a grant, well, that's going to pay for the sausages and stuff like that. Speaking engagements, mining sector is good because it's, I can really do a lot of talks for them, particularly for shift change and stuff like that. So they'll book several at a time and but corporates, industry bodies that have all the money from the growers or whatever come and speak at their conference and things like that. So we have some very generous donors that donate small or large amounts every year. We've got Ski for Life in South Australia is our major sponsor at the moment. We've had some really generous corporate sponsors over the years, but the big corporates tend to come on for 3 years and then drop off. And we've been blessed that I haven't really had to go looking for those. I probably need to right now. But it's all those, the small donations, to be honest. Like, people jump on the website and they'll give us $5 or $20 or $50. And really surprises me and just fills my heart to see, you know, particularly end of financial year, people go in and put $2,000 in there. It's like, wow, that's, you know, that's huge. And it's all those little bits that just add up to, I'm very conscious of overheads and stuff like that. So we don't have an office.
Yep.
That big ute parked out the front is the most expensive thing. That's the office. Travel around Australia in that. But I work from my spare bedroom. That's my home office. My PA works from her home office. We don't pay for a fancy office in the city overlooking the river or the harbour or anything.
So the overheads are right down. You've just got them screwed right down.
Because rent's the killer, right?
Of course.
Rent and wages are the killer.
Of course, rent and wages,
And that's, you know, when people talk about charities and administration costs, well, you know what, we've got to pay a monthly subscription for bloody Microsoft so we can still get emails and use a Word document. It's bullshit. We've got to pay a monthly phone bill. We've got to pay for internet security. We've got to pay for internet. But I keep it down as much as I can, rather than putting people on to sit around and, you know, shuffle paper. I'll just get a contractor in to just do a small amount rather than that. And I don't need a lot of staff at this point. And even if I keep doing bog breaks, I probably don't need many staff all up. I would rather, you know, the integrity of the organisation of where the money goes. And yes, there is some administration. In so much as we've got to pay for all those sort of things. We've got to pay insurance. We've got to pay this. We've got to pay that.
Non-negotiables, like, absolutely.
They're things that...
compulsory stuff. You've got to pay.
And people
you can't do anything.
It's the admin costs. Well, they're bloody big sometimes. Well, I try to keep them to a minimum. But when you get a very large organisation, they're paying for a building. They're paying all these staff. So you do have to pay staff. Not everyone wants to work for nothing forever. Some people will definitely. Some people will.
It'd be nice if we could, but
But I've even had people say, "Oh, you shouldn't get paid." I'm like, "Oh, what am I going to eat?"
Why wouldn't you? I mean, that's the stupidest thing. I mean,
for 2.5 years, I did it out of my own pocket. So I didn't.
But you're working harder than most people working for a good wage.
Being paid on a full wage, and you're not doing that.
You're not just sitting around having lunch breaks and taking time off whenever you want. You know,
no, I do a lot of drive. Well, that's the thing. Like, I literally couldn't ask someone to do the hours that I do or drive the miles that I do. It would be an OH&S nightmare, like a logistic nightmare. You'd probably
you drove down here. You said you had the ute out the front. Did you drive down for not specifically for this, obviously? You drive all the way down to come on our podcast.
Come on, make us feel good about ourselves, Mary. Say yes, Mary. Say yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
I drove all the way from Queensland.
I just assumed you would have flown down, but you've obviously got a bunch of engagements along the way.
Yeah, I'm on the road for 6 weeks.
Okay.
So I'm away from home for 6 weeks.
Okay.
So I'm on the road for 6 weeks. I left home on the 9th of February. And again, to keep the cost down, I just don't drive to Victoria for one event. But I'm usually down in Victoria, South Australia, in March. I'm usually in the area because
so
I go to the Ski for Life event in South Australia on the long weekend. Their big ski event up the Murray River. And then...
Because they're your main sponsor, you mentioned earlier.
And then in Bendigo on the third week of March, there's RNS Grading have a dinner there to raise money for us every year, which is, you know, they're so supportive of us. So I make sure I'm at that dinner just to give them an update on what we've done. And
sorry, Mary, who?
RNS Grading.
Are they a Bendigo firm, or are you talking about? Or?
I think they've got a few offices.
I don't know them
around the place.
What's their business?
They basically sell that road grading stuff.
Sorry.
Drainage stuff. And
grading. Gotcha. Sorry. I now understand.
Not graded carrots.
No. Grading. Yeah, gotcha. Prefab stuff. I can imagine.
So I'm always like tying a road trip for this region. So I started, Shepparton was the first one, which made me on the road a bit early. So I'm usually 4.5 weeks, 5 weeks on the road, but this time it's probably 6. Or a little bit more, 6.5.
What about blokes in your life? What do you tell them? You spend all your time telling blokes how to look after themselves, or how to, how to look after themselves, basically, mentally. What do you tell the blokes in your life?
Yeah, it's actually interesting that, like last year, I had a bit of a reality check because I spend all this time driving around the country, looking after all these blokes, and then someone sort of, in my family, not that distant from me, and I was going through a tough time, and it's like I sort of knew he was going through a few things, and I was like, ooh, okay, maybe I need to put on the brakes and just have a little look a bit closer instead of me, looking all over the country at all these other blokes who are going through a rough time. So it was a bit of a reality check. It's like, yeah, okay, this can land a bit close.
Yeah. And you've got to be able to look after yourself, of course, as well.
Yeah.
You're working hard and working hard to help other people, whether it be blokes, women, or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, you do have to be able to
look after yourself,
stop and have a break and look have a look around.
Yeah.
You know, at your life, I suppose.
Well, you're carrying a lot. Mary's carrying a lot herself in this business.
Seeing a lot of
a
lot of.
So I have to empty my bucket of shit. So I have to empty my bucket
of shit. Yeah.
And it's fortunately one of the ways I can do that is driving. It's really good to clear my head, and I think, and I come up with good ideas and stuff in the car. So driving's a really good way.
What farmer doesn't love to just get out on the open road?
Yeah, give me a long, straight, flat road.
I'd rather drive anywhere. My wife loves to fly. If we're going somewhere, I love to hit the road and just drive. I love it. I just look at all the crops, the grass, the stock. Well, everywhere I go, I love it.
Oh yeah, my man was interstate truck driver, and I always thought that'd be. You know, I had a
it's something pretty cool about that.
I don't think my mum wasn't too keen on being an interstate truck driver, but
I love the road too. I love the road.
Yeah, I love the open road. Long, straight, flat roads. I'm not so good on windy, hilly roads.
I know.
Not my thing, but I have to do it sometimes. But long, straight, flat roads is a really good way for me to empty my bucket. Also gardening. So I've got a fairly extensive garden at home, full of weeds. But gardening's another one of my ways that I empty my bucket. And, for some people that might be going to talk to a counsellor. For me, I couldn't think of anything worse. I've tried it, hate it, not for me.
Talk to your plants.
Get out in the garden.
And give you some.
Go for a drive.
Yeah, cool.
The other thing, Mary, early on the conversation you mentioned, I think, all of us have been near suicide. It's unusual now for somebody not to have had a suicide quite close to a family and friend. And just listening to what you're doing, there's a lot I like about it. So a couple of things I've said already, but I also like the idea that this is like a bit like an potentially early intervention, potentially preventative. If we're talking suicide, if it's not preventative, it's no good. But a couple of years ago, a fellow that I've known for 30 years, managing a really large primary production business, a huge farm, in Western Victoria, approaching his retirement, late 50s, drove out into the paddock with his dog, shot his dog and shot himself. It's like, I still can't believe that he's gone and that he did it. And engage in everything. There were people flew in from Texas, that have been buying bulls off this bloke, for the funeral. The funeral was like, there were cars, there were thousands of people came to see this man off. And why did that? Why did that? I know we don't know, but
was in his bucket.
But gee, if he was one of the people that got to a bogged break or something, just one person, if he had have got there, it could have been enough for him, and I'm sure it is enough for a lot of people. So, good on you, because you are saving those people. I'm sure you are.
In my presentation, I go through some of the signs and symptoms, some of the things we can look out for, and I've had one bloke just break down. He's like, "Where were you 5 days ago?" He lost his brother 5 days before. He said he ticked every one of those things. I didn't know what I was looking for. I didn't know what to look for. And some people do, have some of those symptoms, but some it's really hard to spot, and you may not see it. So I don't want anyone to think that they should have spotted it.
No,
but it is.
That's important too. Don't feel guilty for not having done
never
something,
feel guilty
because
if you didn't
it's still
spot
a mystery. It is a mystery.
And some guys are just everything seems normal, and they're not. They're not. Things aren't good. But it's hopefully I can get that out there, and it doesn't matter what health condition we're talking about. Prevention's always going to be the best option.
Of course.
So let's get it early. Let's not get
whatever
bogged.
It is.
Let's not get bogged.
And
That whole bogged analogy is what that article is about, and that's what made sense to blokes, because it's practical. And they understand getting bogged. They understand that they don't burn the tractor when it's bogged. We always take the time and trouble to get it out. So that's what...
You do get out. You don't stay bogged forever, do you? You always get out. Sometimes on your own, sometimes with a hand from a mate, but you get out.
And it might take some time.
Analogy.
It might take some...
you might have to just sit back for a bit and look back at it and go, shit, I've got to work out this out. The answer might not be obvious straight up. You might have to come up with a bit of a clever...
And you might make it worse too, because when I wrote that article, actually my ex-sister-in-law contacted me. She's like, do you know what my husband did? So he bogged the little tractor. So then he went and...
He bogged the big tractor.
He bogged the ute. Then he went and got the little tractor to try and pull that out. So he bogged that. So then he went and got the truck, and then he bogged that. So then he went and got the dozer, and he bogged that. And I was like,
He is bogged.
he said he just didn't come and say, "Can you come and give me a hand?" He actually
tried to do it himself.
So all of that.
I'll bloody fix this. I don't need anyone
I'll be right. I'll do it.
My wife says that to me all the time. Well, you just don't like anyone to help you, do you? Like, nope.
Yeah. So that's, I guess, why that analogy works so well, was that sometimes we can get ourselves out of those little sticky patches, but when it's properly bogged, we probably have to ask someone for help.
So, absolutely.
Yeah.
And we do try to talk about that a bit. I'm not that, I'm that great at it, but it's important to make people aware that, it is something you need to do. It is helpful just to have a conversation, just to, with people.
Well, I just call it, just get the shit out of your bucket. Just have a whinge. Get it out. Tell people what's going on.
Yeah.
May not fix it, but you know what?
Can't hurt, surely.
You feel lighter when you get the shit out.
It's not going to make it any worse.
No,
absolutely not going to make it any worse.
Well, thank you, Mary. I'm conscious that we're probably frying you in the sun there. Luckily, you're from Queensland. Unfortunately, we can't open the door too much because the cockies will make too much noise in the background. But I really appreciate it. I know you're really busy and really appreciate your work and what you do for our community and for blokes. And appreciate giving us a bit of your time here on Rambling.
Thanks for having me. It's been great.
If we can be so bold to say, especially on behalf of rural men, Mary, thank you so much for the work you're doing for our brothers out there who do struggle. We know how tough farm life is, and it's a tough caper. And I still think our farmers are devalued, absolutely, and over criticised. The farmers that I've met care and love for their land and their stock. They are very, very caring people. Generally, farmers they're not doing a lot of damage because they understand the value of their property. That land is so important to them, so they do everything they can to protect it and to look after it. If it's not viable land, then they're not viable. So, and it's critical to us, to this nation. Good farming,
as we're learning at the moment.
Say no more. Say no more. Exactly. Yeah. Good on you, Mary. More strength to your arm.
Thank you.
Good on you
for having me.
Thank you.
Folks might say that I'm no good, that I wouldn't settle down if I could. But when that open road starts to call in me, there's something over the hill that I got